Morning, everyone, or good afternoon, or whenever it is. Whew, hot. Just got through working out. Matter of fact, let me turn this down because it might be drowning out my voice a little bit. It would be tragic, wouldn't it? There we go. Let's try that. I'm going to read a couple of verses this morning. Matthew 21. Verse 12 and 13 says, "And Jesus entered the temple and drove out all who sold and bought in the temple. And he flipped the tables of the money changers and the seats of those who sold pigeons. He said to them, 'It is written, my house shall be called a house of prayer, but you make it a den of robbers.'" And then 1 Corinthians chapter 6, verses 19 and 20. It says, "Or do you not know that your body is a temple of the Holy Spirit, within whom you have from God? You are not your own, for you were bought with a price. So glorify God in your body." So we have two verses here. One talking about the temple. Excuse me. The temple that was there in Jesus' time, and the other referring to the new covenant, which says that our body is the temple. We are the church. We are the temple, bought with a price. So if you study about the temple and you read the original plans for the temple, you would know that Jesus entered into the outer courts of the temple. And there, basically, they had set him up a first Monday, so to speak, for lack of a better term, a flea market where they were buying and selling goods. Now, the original plan for the outer court of the temple was a place for the Gentiles to come and worship. They were not allowed inside the temple. So the Gentiles had a worship place outside in the outer courts. And the Jewish leaders had decided it was okay to set up for people to set up shop and sell things out there. Now, I bet it didn't happen all at once. I bet it didn't happen all at once. I bet, the first one came and he saw a need of, these people come into town and they're really poor, and I'd like to set up a little place where, they don't have pigeons of their own to sacrifice, so I'll just sell them some pigeons. I bet it even started on the outer walls of the temple, outside. Now, again, this is Kevin. This is not, I don't find this anywhere in the Bible, but this is me knowing human nature and how things work. I bet they started outside, and something happened, and they said, well, we could serve the people better. Yeah, don't compromises always start with good intentions, or the pretense of good intentions. You know what? I bet we could serve the people better if we were inside. There's a lot of stuff going on around here. People trying to rip them off. I'm just trying to help them. So why don't you let me go in and sell pigeons to these people so they'll have sacrifices? And then someone else came and said, well, since he's doing that, and that's really good, why don't you let me do this? And won't you let me do this? Until we get to the point here where Jesus enters the outer court and he sees First Monday. And he goes, this isn't First Monday. This is the house of the Holy God. And he enters, and we see a time where Jesus is angry. But it's righteous anger. and he flips the tables, and he takes a whip, and he runs everyone off. He runs them off and says, "This is the house of a holy God, and you have made it into a den of thieves. You have desecrated the house of God. You have desecrated the house of God." And Jesus, in that, we see the preference to the verses in 1 Corinthians that I read. You may be thinking, well, we don't have a temple that we go to and worship, and all of this doesn't happen. You know, we don't do that at my church. We are the church, as Paul tells us in 1 Corinthians there. We are the temple of a holy God. The Spirit lives in us. His Holy Spirit lives within us, and we are His temple. Bought, he makes the end, bought with a price. You are the church because Jesus Christ made you the church. I am the church because He made us the church. So the question is, what are we allowing to come into our temple? What tables do I need to flip over? Because Satan works the same way in our lives that he did in the time of Jesus. It starts with just a little bit. It starts with one table set up with something good. Oh, well, you know, I watched that TV show, but it doesn't affect me. Well, I've set one table up. Well, I'm just looking. I'm not lusting after that. I'm just making the comment. You know, that's a really pretty lady. She's wearing things that she shouldn't wear, and you know, I looked once, and that was just temptation. But then I looked back, and then I've set another table up. Well, yeah, I only cuss a little bit. I've set another table up. Well, yeah, I know that God, you called me to witness to this person, but you know what? I don't know that person. And suddenly, my temple has become a flea market, has become a den of thieves. And that last one I made a point was that I said was really important. You know, when the Jewish leaders of the temple decided, you know what, we'll have a flea market out there, what they said was, you know, those Gentiles don't deserve a place to worship anyway. They're not worthy of a place to worship. And when I decide who I'm going to share the gospel with and who I'm not, when the Holy Spirit convicts me to share something with someone and I say, no, that's not right. At that point, I become the Jewish leader and say, they don't deserve a place to worship anyway. Let's just set up a flea market out there. They're not important enough to know God. They're not important like I am. What makes me so important? More important than them? Nothing. Other than I've set up a flea market in my temple. I've set up First Monday. And I've got this place where I can go and spend time with God. But I don't allow anyone else in there. It's just for me. See, that's what the Jewish Pharisees and priests had done. They said, well, we got a place to go. Well, yeah, but God intended for you to be the light for the Gentiles, and they would come. Well, yeah, but that was God's plan. That's not my plan. Me and God, we're good. There's just no place for anyone else. And when I get to that point and I've set up all this busyness within my temple, when I've compromised and I've got table after table after table split up, there's only one way to fix it. And Jesus gave me the answer. I got to flip those tables over. I've got to be careful what I watch. I've got to be careful what I see. I've got to watch what I say. But here's the thing. Even then, in all of my effort, I still can't do it. This is the trick, and it didn't change. It's not a trick, it's the truth. I've got to ask Jesus through the Holy Spirit to come in and flip the tables over in my den of thieves. Jesus and grace and mercy were not just a one-time event for my salvation. I need that grace every single day. And when I get something built up inside of me that needs to go, then I have to say, please come in. Please come in and clean out my flea market. Flip my tables over. Run me out of that place, because I can't run myself out. I need you, God, to run all of these things out of your holy temple that was bought for a price, because I can't do it myself. If I could, I promise I would. I would. My part is simply inviting the Holy Spirit in and asking Him to clean house. Nothing else to do. Ask Him to clean house. And He'll show me the steps to take. He'll show me what I need to do to make that happen. God bless you. I hope you have a great day. I hope you don't have a flea market set up in your temple. If you do, it's time to close up shop. It's time to ask the Holy Spirit in to make it back into a house of the Holy God and not a den of thieves. God bless you. I hope you have a great day.